Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to our channel, the place where we go beyond palace walls and reveal what really happens inside the House of Windsor. Here, we uncover the soft whispers behind the grand portraits, the human stories hidden beneath centuries of royal protocol. So settle in, because today's story will stir something deep inside you. Let me start with a question that's been on every royal watcher's lips these past few days. What does it mean when a single jeweled pin, smaller than the palm of your hand, manages to carry the entire weight of the monarchy on its delicate frame? Because make no mistake, that's exactly what happened inside the ancient halls of Windsor Castle, under chandeliers that have seen more history than entire nations. This is where Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, made what many are already calling her most important appearance yet. And not because of some dazzling dress or glittering tiara, though there were plenty of both, but because of what she chose to wear right over her heart. Let's step back for a moment and set the scene. Imagine the castle that once belonged to William the Conqueror. Its stones soaked in 1,000 years of secrets, betrayals, triumphs. On this particular night, it was alive with the low hum of foreign dignitaries and British aristocrats. Crystal glasses sang under candlelight, silver cutlery gleamed on tables draped in scarlet. Everywhere you looked, there were uniforms adorned with medals, ladies in shimmering gowns, and footmen gliding silently across the floor. They had all gathered for a state banquet in honor of President Emmanuel Macron of France and his wife Brigitte, a diplomatic high point designed to strengthen ties and project British stability to the world. But despite the impressive guest list and the rows of military precision, everyone's eyes were searching for someone else. Someone who, until recently, had vanished from these grand gatherings. And then she appeared. Princess Catherine. Not just stepping into Windsor's halls, but into the center of a narrative that's as old as the monarchy itself, the story of resilience, duty, and how personal pain becomes public hope when you wear a crown. Her entrance alone was enough to catch collective breaths. Dressed in a flowing white gown that seemed to capture the glow of every candle it passed, she was at once ethereal and grounded. On her head sat the lover's knot tiara, that legendary diadem once favored by Diana, sparkling with rows of pearls and diamonds that caught every flicker of light like tiny stars. This was Catherine's first major public engagement since she announced to the world her own cancer diagnosis just last year. You could almost hear the hush ripple through the crowd as people took in the reality. Here she was, not only attending, but standing tall, regal, smiling with a quiet confidence that spoke louder than any press release ever could. And then people noticed something more. Pinned carefully to her shoulder sash was a tiny framed portrait. At first glance, perhaps just another jewel in the ocean of diamonds that night. But for those who understand the unspoken language of royalty, it was the loudest message of all. For the very first time, Catherine wore the miniature portrait of King Charles III. A tradition, yes, but one that until now saw her don the image of the late Queen Elizabeth II. By replacing it with Charles, she was sending a signal so profound it nearly broke the carefully controlled composure of the palace insiders who watched. Because here's the truth, both Catherine and King Charles are fighting their own private battles with cancer. And that little portrait wasn't just an accessory. It was Catherine's silent way of saying, I stand with you. I honor you. And together, we will carry this burden, for ourselves, for this family, and for the nation watching so anxiously. Charlotte Griffiths, the respected royal editor, summed it up perfectly on the Palace Confidential podcast. She didn't mince words. It was a big, big deal. The first time we've seen her in a tiara in nearly 2 years, and she looked fantastic, but it's more than that. It's the first time she's worn Charles's portrait. That's a huge moment. Imagine being King Charles for a second. Sitting there, perhaps weary from treatments, listening to polite diplomatic toasts that blur together, when suddenly your daughter-in-law glides past radiant, composed, and over her heart is your face. A reminder that even in this towering, often lonely role, someone sees you not just as the sovereign, but as a father, as family. Insiders say that throughout the evening, the King and Catherine shared small, knowing nods. Moments so subtle they might have been missed by cameras, but not by those who understand palace body language. Each glance seemed to say, we're still here. We're still fighting. And we're doing it together. That night, Catherine was more than the Princess of Wales. She was the monarchy's quiet reassurance to a world that wonders, sometimes out loud, if the House of Windsor can still endure. Her calm demeanor, her willingness to return to such a high-pressure event while still recovering, was nothing less than a living testament to the very idea of duty. And it worked. The press, usually quick to latch onto scandal or slip-ups, was unified in its praise. Headlines the next day didn't dwell on gowns or menu details. They focused on the moment Catherine pinned her loyalty, quite literally, to King Charles's chest. Social media overflowed with supportive comments, people writing about how moved they were to see such tender unity during a difficult chapter. But beyond the public adoration lay something even more interesting, a subtle shift in royal gravity. Observers noted how Catherine carried herself that evening, slightly more upright, her smile more measured, her interactions almost queen-like in their gentle authority. It was as if, by confronting her own health fears, she had come back to the royal stage not diminished but elevated. You could almost see the future taking shape right there in the gilded hall. A monarchy that was less about rigid hierarchy and more about family holding each other up. Less about flawless spectacle and more about shared humanity. Of course, not everything was unspoken. Throughout the evening, foreign dignitaries and ambassadors made polite, coded inquiries about the king's health and by extension, Catherine's. Each time, the palace stewards responded with the carefully crafted phrases we've come to recognize: His Majesty is progressing well, or the princess remains focused on her recovery but is deeply committed to her duties. But the real truth was written not in official statements, but in that tiny portrait on Catherine's sash. That's where the monarchy laid bare its vulnerability and, paradoxically, its greatest strength. So now let me turn the question to you. When you saw Catherine return, did you notice that pin? Did it strike you, as it did so many, that this was more than just a protocol gesture? That it was a daughter-in-law telling her father-in-law and telling all of us that the family stands united, no matter what storms come? Because in the end, that's what people crave from their royals, isn't it? Not just ceremony and sparkle, but the reassurance that beneath the crowns and titles, there beats a heart that knows loyalty, compassion, and shared struggle. That's why this story matters. Why Catherine's quiet decision to wear Charles's portrait might one day be remembered not just as a footnote of royal fashion, but as a small act that held together a worried family, and maybe even a worried nation. And so we watch. We wait. We root for them, because in their triumphs and setbacks, we see reflections of our own. Now, dear viewers, I would truly love to hear from you. What did you think when you first saw Catherine back in the royal spotlight, radiant and resolute? Did that small jeweled portrait move you as it did so many others? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and your perspectives mean the world to us. If this story of resilience and family loyalty touched you, please give this video a like. It really does help us continue to bring these stories from behind palace walls. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into the royal world. Thank you, as always, for watching and for being part of this community that cares not just about crowns, but about the people beneath them. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep your eyes on Windsor, because some of the most human chapters of the monarchy may still be yet to come.